Blake, man, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Sorry we had to do this over Zoom. I just figured with the virus circulating, it's easier and safer this way.
Yeah, I agree. It's been a pretty hectic week. Trying to stay healthy myself, hanging in there. How are you doing today?
Yeah, same for me. Doing good, thanks. I figured it'd be in our best interest just to kind of go over our presentation that we're going to be giving Matthew Siegel over at Sonos Speakers this Friday to make sure that we're just kind of on the same page with everything going into it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've been looking forward to this for a while. Definitely a big account. So, we got to make sure we put our best foot forward.
Couldn't agree more. Just so we're on the same page, to kind of start things off, a little refresher here. Sonos' strategic vision is to reinvent the speaker industry and to provide quality speakers to as many people as possible.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for reminding me. I think it's also important to note that we don't forget last time when we were speaking with Matthew, he talked about his business goals for 2020. I know he mentioned that he wanted to expand his global reach, specifically in the Vietnam area. And he also mentioned that he wanted to have a more cohesive execution and understanding the location and shipments of his products. He mentioned that the freight forwarding team faced a few communication challenges with various channels. So, that being said, I think it would be best for us to implement our 2-year logistics services plan to him to benefit their company.
Yep, exactly. Glad that we both see eye to eye here. So first things first, I know that we've been over this, but when we first meet Matthew, it's still vital that we build that initial rapport and credibility and instill that trust in him. I don't have any off the top of my head. Do you happen to have any recent events that may interest Matthew or any referrals that would grab his attention?
Drew, that's funny you ask. You remember John over at Santa Cruz Bicycles? I actually spoke with him the other day. He mentioned that him and Matthew were good friends from college. They actually played football together. I think if we approach Matthew with a mutual connection, that'll definitely get our foot in the door.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that'll for sure ease attention and allow for a smooth transition to our presentation. Great point there.
Yeah, from there, I think it's our best bet just to get to the point, go over our meeting goals and objectives, walk him through a little bit of our agenda, make sure he's all right with everything that we have planned for him. What are your thoughts about that? Did I miss anything?
No, man, totally in agreement. A little bit cliche, but what's going to separate us from other salespeople is setting those goals and objectives to meet Matthew's problems and needs. So yeah, you're spot on there, man.
Yeah, I think it's important also to note that we're not too pushy out the gate. We want to make sure that Matthew's comfortable speaking about his current situation. I was thinking a little bit about this earlier today. I think we could start with something like this. Hey, Matthew, I want to lay out a few objectives and goals of this presentation. We want to go over some specific features that Flexport has and speak to you a little bit about how we can provide some assistance in your freight forwarding processes. Confirm the agenda with him, make sure he's good with all that. Ask him if there's anything else he wants to add.
That's perfect, man. And once he confirms, I think it's important to note that we reconfirm that time slot that we had already previously agreed upon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just so when we get there, we have his full attention. We have that full hour or whatever it was that we agree upon. Anyways, I think this is a great start. From there, in terms of our meeting, if we transition to our presentation next, and specifically our PowerPoint slides, I think that would be most beneficial. Would you mind if we went over these real quick just so we have them fresh in our minds?
Yeah, I think we got some really valuable information in our presentation slides. I know we probably don't want to bombard them with too many numbers. What were you thinking about the slides, and how do you think we should cover that?
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully my slides came up on your screen here. And anyways, I'm going to show you here slide 1.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to tailor our slides to meet his problems and needs like we were talking about. And as you can see here, our first page of slides goes over the overall features and benefits of our synthesized communication platform.
Right.
in terms of our meeting, I envision myself saying something like this. With Flexport's synthesized communication software, shipments can be, easily booked and tracked, which ensures product checkpoints have been met, ultimately taking the stress and uncertainty out of freight forwarding. This will allow for a smooth and cohesive communication platform when reaching out to various channels on the freight forwarding line.
Yeah, Drew, I think that sounds great. However, I know when we pitched a similar slide in the past, customers were often misunderstood. They showed emotions of having the communication platform being beneficial, but they were worried that it might take their supply chain team a little bit too long to figure out. Do you have any thoughts about how we could manage that objection in case it arises?
Yeah, yeah, glad you asked. So first thing that we need to do is acknowledge it.
Right.
Then we need to ask question to make sure that that we understand his objection. And once the objection is confirmed, we need to offer proof that his misunderstanding is actually not true. After this, in the objection has been resolved, then we can move on. But in case the skepticism arises this early, we can actually pitch slide 3, which I'll throw to your screen real quick here, which shows our smooth integration that offers zero confusion for Sonos speakers. It's an on-site training. It's 24/7, 7 days a week, along with direct call assistance for our customers. This allows for easement into our software that makes them feel comfortable using the software. And specifically for Sonos, it'll be a rapid and effortless transition to our product.
Yeah, I think that's great. Also, if you didn't understand the simplicity and thorough training of our product through those slides, I don't think it would hurt to provide them with some brief hands-on demonstrations via mine or your iPads of our software platform. We can show him the easy functions it has. I think this will be a good way to mitigate his concerns, and he'll get a feel for the software simplicity up close and personal.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Glad that you brought up that second visual there. That's all perfect. If you wouldn't mind if we made a quick transition to slide 2,
Hmm.
uh, and that way I could pitch it to you real quick.
Yep, I
Uh,
got it.
yeah. So I could see myself saying something like this to Matthew. Matthew, as you can see here, our cloud-based platform connects all stages of the freight forwarding process. This allows for increased shipping efficiency and global reach. Ultimately, this feature enables endless access into the Vietnam area. And then I would send the trial close with something like, do you think that this feature would make sense for your current situation?
Yeah. I know we've like I said before, we've received similar forms of skepticism in the past. If Matthew were to be unsure and if he were to question how we would actually improve his efficiency and global reach, how do you think that me or you could respond in order to counteract that?
Definitely, definitely. That's great transition to our last slide here, and that says it up there at the top. This is what we do.
Right.
So, as you can see, JLab Audio shipping volume was increased 10 times without pumping up any operations. On top of this, we were able to filter out inefficiency at Molecule with 92% of their hot shipments delivered on time. This will really provide Matthew with that hard evidence of 2 related fields of past successes at length. This will resolve his skepticism. I really do believe, Blake, our past successes speak louder volume than anything we could really say ourselves, especially in related
Yeah,
fields.
I couldn't agree more. Those two examples, like you mentioned, in the same type of industry, are great examples. I think our success speaks for itself. This will certainly build some more credibility, and it might influence Matthew's perception a little bit of Flexport's ability.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So up to this point, we've really maintained a strong desire to close the sale, positive attitude, and tailored our whole presentation to meet Matthew's needs. I'd say we know he has the money, we know he has the authority, and hopefully he's been showing some desire and presenting some buying signals to this. So kind of now it's time for you to do what you do best in a perfect world, and that's close. This should be fun for you as usual.
Yeah.
You mind giving me a quick rundown of how you're going to close this specific sale?
Yeah. Obviously, I've been thinking about this a lot. And you have been talking about it. I envision myself saying something like, Matthew, I'd like to go over our meeting today. Towards the beginning of our discussion, we drew our attention to the new freight forwarding process needed to increase Sonos's global reach. Flexport allows for this by providing new shipment locations in the Vietnam area, especially like you mentioned. Um, you also mentioned a few problems that your supply chain team was having with communication along the freight forwarding line. Um, Here at Flexport, we can guarantee you that our synthesized communication platform, um, it'll do just that. It'll solve all your communication issues. Those won't only be minimized, but you'll also be able to have a transparent and smoother process along the bookings of your shipments and products. Finally, you talked about the problems you face tracking your shipments and the efficiency with the traditional freight forwarding processes that you currently use. Um, our software offers a visual platform for shipments. This improves efficiency and overall understanding of our shipments. I'd like to get an insight of what you're thinking. Did I miss anything there? How do you think that sounds, Drew?
I like it a lot. Great use there at the beginning of the summary of benefits, bringing it back in, tying it back there at the end. And I think Matthew's going to like it as well. I know we're kind of running low on time here, but in case of a drawback objection, such as something like, hey, Blake, Drew, I like what Flexport has to offer. I think it aligns with everything at Sonos. Give me a 10% discount, and I'll give you an order today. This is an objection that we simply can't do. How would you handle this if it were presented? Because personally, this is something that this is kind of something I would say. I understand you may feel stretched, so you acknowledge it, and then
Right.
as we previously discussed, Flexport offers synthesized communication, tracking of shipments, and easement of booking for your freight forwarding process. So bring our benefits back in. What we
Mm-hmm.
did not discuss is ultimately how Flexport can save Sonos time and money. And then I'm going to ask, would you mind if we go over this, Matthew? And in the event that he says yes, I'm going to restate how we were able to cut overall costs for related companies, companies related to Sonos such as JLab, and then reinforce it with proof. Offer the numbers that prove it and show him some examples again. And then once Matthew's back on board, I think it'd be good if you closed once again. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I envision myself doing that same thing. Obviously he's not just gonna sit there and take everything that we're saying. He's gonna have some objections. So I think that's great to keep that in mind, and I appreciate that example. Overall, Drew, I think this presentation sounds great. I'm glad we had the opportunity to sit down and kind of refresh our minds here. Like me and you said, we've both been looking forward to this for a long time. This account means a lot to us. I think if we bring the energy and the positivity that you and I both have, I think we'll get it. We'll have a great chance to close the sale with Matthew.
Yeah, looking forward to it, man. These ones are always fun when you know that there's a problem or need that you can truly solve. And if we go out there and just make it fun, be passionate, I think it's really going to work in our favor. So, hey, man, I know you're trying to get going, so I'll hop off the call. But great talking with you, and let's link back up maybe one more time before Friday. And yeah, appreciate it.
Sounds good. I'll be back in the office on earlier later this day. So just give me a call whenever. Stay healthy out there, and thanks again.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, man. You too.